Hello everybody and welcome to episode number 45 of the DCW Universe Mode. A very important episode, one of which could change the entire landscape of this Universe Mode in tonight's main event. Kazuchika Okada, in his debut match, will face the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, for the DCW World Championship. It is going to be a very interesting main event here tonight. Also here tonight we have the DCW Women's Champion Rosemary in action against Sasha Banks. But kicking us off here tonight we have another incredible matchup featuring the phenomenal AJ Styles of the Balor Club. He goes one-on-one with Lars Sullivan, who has a bit of a bone to pick still, I guess, with Balor Club, but not Finn Balor this time. We saw Lars Sullivan lose to Finn Balor, or I guess the Demon Finn Balor at DCW Darkside, but Lars Sullivan said that he wanted another match, but AJ Styles kind of stepped in and said, you know what? You want to get to Finn Balor? You got to go through me. So here tonight we are going to have Lars Sullivan versus AJ Styles. Oh! And Lars Sullivan, you got to wonder if he's been rattled after that loss to Finn Balor at DCW Darkside. And there you see Mr. Money in the Bank Finn Balor standing at ringside. You got to wonder if he's going to be closely paying attention to tonight's main event for the DCW Championship between Okada and the Fiend. But definitely here tonight, he's in the corner of AJ Styles, trying to keep an eye on, Lars Sullivan, who can definitely get a little bit too aggressive sometimes, and it can cause people to get really hurt, can cause disqualifications. Not afraid to lose a match if it means destroying his opponent even more. And there you saw Lars Sullivan screaming at Finn Balor, saying, "This should have been you." Jeez, Lars Sullivan is just an emotional wreck after the loss to the Demon at DCW Darkside. And there you see the aggression coming out, lifting up AJ Styles by the head with one hand and slamming him back down to the mat. That is a former WWE, TNA, IWGP champion. And Lars Sullivan is manhandling him like a baby doll. And now Sullivan launching him into the corner. Man! Sullivan tried like a knee lift. Man. And he crashed and burned in the corner, grabbing at his leg. And now Finn watching closely, yelling some words of encouragement to AJ Styles. And a clothesline to the back of the head. AJ Styles, I think, may have just found the Achilles heel of Lars Sullivan. And it could literally be his Achilles heel. AJ Styles attacking the leg that went into the ring post off that splash, the corner knee lift by Lars Sullivan. AJ Styles really targeting that leg. Trying to lift up Sullivan into the Oshigroshi, but Sullivan able to battle out of it with his strength. And a clubbing blow to the back of the head of AJ Styles. AJ Styles nearly planted the big man with that big move, but Sullivan just overpowering the phenomenal one. And look at this. Suplex toss nearly over the top rope. And now Finn Balor starting to get a little nervous. Lars Sullivan tried to get him up. For the freak accident. AJ Styles able to counter out of it into a reverse DDT. And Sullivan meets him with a hard shot. AJ Styles. Drop kick in the leg. And Sullivan is grabbing at his knee. Normally, Sullivan doesn't really focus on injuries that much. He's really about punishment. But AJ Styles locking in the calf crusher, and Lars Sullivan has to tap out very quickly. That is not normal for the Freak. That may be a very serious injury. I mean, nevertheless, AJ Styles really targeted in on that leg after Sullivan went off the ring post with it, or went off the turnbuckle with it, locking in that calf crusher. And just by the sheer fact that Lars Sullivan tapped out so quickly, look at that, barely able to get AJ Styles up for the freak accident. They may have just called that finish on the fly. AJ Styles locking in the calf crusher on perhaps an injured leg of Lars Sullivan. And Lars Sullivan tapped out only after a little bit of time in that submission hold. AJ Styles with another victory here tonight, but I mean, I may hate the guy's motives in the ring, but I really hope Lars Sullivan is okay. Hopefully that's not a serious injury. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But I'm getting word from backstage right now that we are about to cut back to a promo from Adam Cole on Johnny Gargano and the returning Tommaso Ciampa. Ooh, challenge thrown down by Adam Cole on behalf of the Undisputed Era. Will we see it next week? The Undisputed Era versus hashtag DIY. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'll make sure to check and see if Gargano or Ciampa agrees to this matchup. We're moving on to our women's matchup here tonight. The DCW Women's Champion Rosemary one-on-one with the boss, Sasha Banks. This is going to be very exciting. Oh, and there you see in the corner of Rosemary is Nikki Cross as she prepares to go one-on-one. Oh, with Candice LeRae in a Monsters Ball match. I can reveal that that will take place next week. Oh, man, it's Sasha Banks firing back with a forearm on the Women's Champion. Remember, Candice LeRae lost to Rosemary at DCW Darkside in that Monsters Ball matchup with the help of Nikki Cross. So we still have to find out who the next challenger for Rosemary's Championship will be. Sasha Banks hopes to make it her. The blue-haired boss. Oh, double cross bodies up against the ropes. And there's the third one, sending both women over the top rope. And there you see 15-minute time limit here tonight in this singles matchup. Although our main event will have a different time limit considering it's a title matchup. Although Sasha Banks continuing on the aggressiveness in this matchup. Rosemary lifting her up into the fireman's carry and planting her onto the hoodie of the announce table. Sasha Banks has got to fight in this matchup like it is for a championship as Rosemary sends her into the steel steps. Jeez Louise. Even without a no disqualification stipulation, Rosemary can still be a dangerous competitor in the ring. And Rosemary, I thought she believed that she had the matchup won via countout, but Sasha Banks able to get back inside the ring and continue on this matchup, but I don't know for how much longer. And Nikki Cross, ooh, in the corner of Rosemary, who's stomping away on Sasha Banks, setting her up for something. Oh, no way. No way. Best in the world, Shane McMahon, eat your heart out. Rosemary going coast to coast against Sasha Banks. I don't think I've ever seen Rosemary do that. Who knows? Maybe I'm just dumb and don't remember, but I don't remember Rosemary going coast to coast before. Oh, and it nearly helped her put away Sasha Banks there. And Nikki Cross focusing in on this competition, perhaps trying to learn some stuff, ooh, from the Women's Champion ahead of her matchup next week against Candice LeRae. Remember, if Candice LeRae wins next week, Rosemary releases her grip, her spell on Nikki Cross, but if Nikki Cross wins, oh, Rosemary gains control over not only Nikki Cross, but Candice LeRae herself. And that's all Rosemary needs is another, I guess, minion running around here on DCW as Sasha Banks climbs to the top rope. Oh, look for the double knees, and Rosemary exits the ring, making Sasha Banks crash and burn on her tailbone, on her knees. That has got to be brutal. And Rosemary continuing the assault. Look at these brutal strikes. The striking combination right on the jaw. And Sasha Banks is rattled, trying to climb up, utilizing the ropes. Oh, Sasha Banks trying to hold on. Spins her around. Oh, forearm trying to lock in. Banks statement. But the Women's Champion battling back. And now what is this? The Women's Champion targeting in on the leg, on the ankle of Sasha Banks. Repeated mini ankle locks here. Oh, really getting aggressive on that leg. And we've already seen Lars Sullivan succumb to some sort of leg injury earlier in tonight. I would hate to make it 2 in a row. But then again, Rosemary and Lars Sullivan, two very similar people. They're both very aggressive. And now Rosemary going to lock in a sharpshooter on Sasha Banks. Will she be able to escape? Oh, apparently so. Rosemary not able to hold the grip. Oh, drop kick to the jaw. And Rosemary going to the outside. And Sasha Banks gonna yank her back in by the hair. Ooh, Hangman's neck breaker through the ropes. And the women's champion is rattled. Can Sasha Banks get back into it? Climbing to the top rope, could be looking for the frog splash. Shout out to her hero, Eddie Guerrero. The women's champion rolling out again. Sasha Banks, oh, gets nailed with a forearm in midair. What the heck? Rosemary planted her with this forearm. Look at this, full speed down to the floor into Rosemary's elbow. That could break a nose, crack an eyeball, bust a lip, you name it. Sasha Banks has got to be out. Rosemary dragging her back up to her feet and lifting her up. And you know what's coming next. The Red Wedding, planting Sasha Banks to the mat. And the women's champion picks up a win here tonight over Sasha Banks. Holy cow, what a forearm by Rosemary. Sasha Banks just came crashing down. If the coast to coast wasn't going to put her away, but this forearm would. Look at this. Sasha coming straight down. Looked like she was going for a double axe handle. Caught the forearm. That knocked her out. And then this was just the icing on the cake. The Red Wedding by Rosemary. And the women's champion picks up another victory here tonight. I mean, we have Candice LeRae versus Nikki Cross next week in that Monsters Ball match. But the real question is, who is going to try and step up to the women's champion Rosemary next? Well, coming up next, folks, it is our main event of the evening. The DCW World Championship is on the line. Kazuchika Okada makes his debut here tonight on DCW television against the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, who called out Okada on last week's episode and said that he would put his title on the line if it meant that he gets to face the Rainmaker in his debut match. And guys, I am very, very excited. We've been seeing these promos, these hype-up promos, ever since DCW Darkside, and there he is, Kazuchika Okada, the former IWGP World Champion, one of the greatest competitors in New Japan Pro Wrestling, finally here in DCW, and in his debut match, he goes one-on-one with the Fiend Bray Wyatt for the DCW World Championship, the first title defense of the Fiend since defeating The Undertaker. What the heck? What's that around his waist? Is that the... That's not the... Is that the championship? What? You're telling me the Fiend... Oh my god. The Fiend has redesigned the DCW World Title in his image. Guys, this... Holy crap. I mean, if Okada wins this matchup, I think he's going to be too afraid to hold that championship. The Fiend has not only infected DCW, he's infected the DCW Championship. We all need Okada to win this matchup here tonight. I know it's a lot of added pressure, but holy cow, look at that title. Look at the person holding that title. Mind games from the Fiend. Okada staring across the ring at the prize that he wants to win in this matchup, but the prize staring back at him is the face of the man that he faces here in this matchup. The Fiend Bray Wyatt redesigning the DCW Championship in his own image. The question is, who's leaving with that championship here tonight? Okada or the Fiend? And there you see it up in the corner. Oh, it is a 30-minute time limit here tonight in this title matchup. If either of these men go over the 30-minute time limit, it will be a draw, and the Fiend will retain the DCW World Championship. Oh, but Okada coming out very strong against the Fiend. We saw him drop the Fiend on the top rope, and now he's continuing on the assault with these brutal strikes. Oh, locking the Fiend up against the ropes and delivering a big front drop kick to the chest. And it's very interesting to note, every man that we've seen the Fiend face before, we have not seen them return to DCW, save for Braun Strowman. Oh! And when we saw Braun Strowman return, he was not the same. Oh! And the Fiend, oh, now back in control of Okada. Oh, Oh, the Fiend lifting up and choking Okada. Okada, though, able to counter out with an arm drag. We've seen Okada have incredible matches with the likes of Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Tetsuya Naito. But I don't think he's faced anything quite like the Fiend here tonight on DCW. Trying to stomp away, but the Fiend with no effect to it. Dragging Okada off the apron. Oh, but Okada trying to stay alive. Bray Wyatt on last week's episode of DCW during the Firefly Funhouse said that Okada, the Rainmaker, was trying to rain on his championship celebration parade, and he called the Fiend his umbrella, his protector. But the question lies, will the Fiend be able to protect his title reign here tonight? Oh, Okada looking for a tombstone. Oh, the Fiend reverses into a tombstone of his own. And look at this, covering Okada in the style of The Undertaker. Cover 1, 2, and a kick out by Okada. Shout out to the man that the Fiend defeated for that DCW World Championship, The Undertaker. Oh, at DCW Darkside, we haven't seen The Undertaker since. And Okada answers back with a tombstone of his own, jumping in the air. And we saw the Fiend grab at his head. Cover 1, 2, and a kick out by the Fiend. Kick out at 2 after the tombstone pile driver. And Okada, I mean, no offense to Okada, but he should be used to a lot of kickouts. Oh, could have been lining up for the Rainmaker. The Fiend able to hit him in the jaw, raking the back of the head of Okada. And look at this, planting him with the Uranagi. And the Fiend into the cover for the championship. And a kick out by Okada. Oh, and there you saw the Fiend putting the gloves to his head. The hurt and the heel gloves. The Fiend lining up for something. Upside down look. Thankfully Okada wasn't looking. Oh, the Fiend. Oh, trying to look for something. Okada able to counter out of it. The Fiend on his knees. Okada, neck breaker. He's got to continue on the assault. One Rainmaker clothesline could be all that it takes to put him away. Okada off the ropes. Drop kick. Oh, the Fiend moved out of the way. Oh, lift him up. Spins him around. Onto the knee. And the Fiend back in control. Into the cover on Okada. 1, 2. Oh, whoa, what? The Fiend just... Okada didn't kick out. The Fiend pulled his head up. The Fiend does not want to let up on the attack of Okada. He wants to send a message here tonight. Okada could be on the verge of having that mandible claw applied to his gullet. Oh, Okada. Oh, kicks to the leg of the Fiend. Spins him around. Oh, Rainmaker! Rainmaker clothesline out of nowhere. This is it. Get the replay off the screen. It's a beautiful move, but this could be it. We could be missing the pinfall. Okada into the cover off the Rainmaker. No! The Fiend just kicked out at 1. He kicked out of a Rainmaker at 1. How does that make any sense? Okada trying to stay with it. The Rainmaker sign. The Fiend just kicked out of a Rainmaker at 1. How did he kick out of a Tombstone at 2, but a Rainmaker at 1? Okada trying to stay on him. German suplex. And after this, he loves to load up another Rainmaker, this time spinning the Fiend inside out. Look at this rotation of the Fiend. Flipping around like a pancake. And splatting him on the mat. Okada again into the cover. Off another Rainmaker, and this time again. The Fiend kicks out, but this time at 2. 2 Rainmakers, and it only gets Okada a 2 count. That is how scary the Fiend can be. And now look at this, Okada lining up another Rainmaker, and another Rainmaker, and a third Rainmaker in a row, and the Fiend is crawling. The Fiend is crawling using the ropes. He's getting back to his feet after taking multiple Rainmakers, and Okada is trying to stay with it. And Okada, Tombstone pile driver. And Okada, after nailing multiple Rainmakers and Tombstones, the Fiend still getting back to his feet, and the Fiend elbows off the skull. Oh, Okada. Oh, again, Rainmaker, keeping the grip. Oh, trying to display multiple Rainmakers to the Fiend, and hoping this has put him down. And the Fiend back to his feet. Okada didn't catch it, and the Sister Abigail to Okada. The Fiend just stood up from multiple Rainmaker clotheslines. And the Fiend planting Okada with Sister Abigail. Okada climbing back to his feet very slowly. And the Fiend with the mandible claw on Okada. Oh, no. Oh, and the referee's rung the bell. Okada has passed out to the mandible claw. I am speechless. Honestly, I am speechless. Okada nailed so many Rainmaker clotheslines. How many was it? Like 6, 7, 8, like 9? At least 10 Rainmaker clotheslines in that matchup. And yet still somehow, some way, the Fiend was able to kick out. Oh, Okada gave him everything that he had. And in the end, the Fiend stood up after taking 3 of those Rainmaker clotheslines and planted him with this Sister Abigail out of nowhere. Bam! Right on his head. And then in the end, the mandible claw finally put down Okada. Okada passed out. Perhaps the biggest threat to the Fiend's championship has been defeated here tonight. And there you see the referee handing the Fiend back his championship. I am honestly at a loss for words. The question is simple. I asked it at DCW Darkside. I'll ask it again here tonight. Who will stop the Fiend's title reign?